So it's been a while since we've done one of these videos.
It has. It has.
Do you think they're going to remember what I look like?
Well, they might find a little surprise over there.
There's been a lot of questions as to what we've been up to.
Well, we've been traveling, we've been living, we've been riding in the basement, which is less exciting to film.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of questions that I think we're going to address. Are you ready for the big reveal?
Are you ready?
Mental health mileage. Not, no intention of crushing it today. Just absorbing a little bit of glorious vitamin D. More out for the mileage today. Enjoying the glorious sunshine. It is 4 degrees with a wind chill 0, -1, something along those lines. But yeah, it's quite nice. Just noodling along. How are you? It's been a week, right? Sometimes life catches up to you, but we're so lucky to be able to get out, get on the bike, bang out some miles, and just reflect and know that everything's going to be okay. That's what I keep telling myself anyways. My life on 2 wheels with a beard. I never thought I could grow a beard. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job at it. It's a little patchy. I kind of knew that going in. But I am resilient. So much has happened since last we spoke. I've also got a lot of questions. I guess some of you have been going back over my older videos. So I'm going to try and address some of those questions this week. Such a beautiful day. How glorious this is. Yeah, super. Okay, first round of questions that came in recently or over the last few weeks pertain to the Velo Orange. A lot of people interested in how the ride's been. So I've had it since March. Obviously in Ottawa you can't really ride outside too much in March. So I've been riding it probably since April, flip-flopping back between this and my very expensive custom steel Mariposa. So first of all, what do I think overall? Fantastic. I love this bike. I can't say enough good things about the ride quality of this bike. What adds to that ride quality? Chunky Monkey Panaracer 35s. Running those today at around 50 psi. Highly recommend those tires. The French style bend in the fork certainly adds to comfort. The wishbone seat stays certainly add to comfort. Steel frame and the bit more relaxed geometry certainly add to comfort. Someone asked me to do a deep dive on this bike. I've done a overview in a previous video about what the components are. So look that one up. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yeah, I've ridden this bike, gravel, pretty shitty conditions, obviously ridden it on the road. It's been my commuter. It's been a bit of everything. This is my go-to bike. I actually think I've ridden this bike more in 2024 than I have my very expensive Mariposa. Now, one of the reasons is I think I can treat this one poorly, which I tend not to do, but I could, because it is my quote-unquote beater bike. Whereas the Mariposa, with its components and its custom steel frame, I tend to baby that. In fact, I think I've put it away for the winter, and it is now wrapped in a bubble wrap. Yeah, I'm that kind of obsessed. So yeah, Velo Orange Rando. It gets 9.5 out of 10 from me. There's been questions. I mentioned about some viewers going back and watching some of the older videos and making comments on bikes I don't own anymore. More specifically about my titanium purchase the number 22 Great Divide. And I get it. If you're in the market for a titanium bike, you want to research that as much as possible, because more often than not, they're not cheap, and you may have to go down the custom path versus off the shelf. So I understand a lot of questions about ride feel, ride quality. How does it feel versus steel? How does it feel versus carbon? I will say this about titanium, and I'm speaking solely about my experience with my number 22, the Great Divide. First of all, it was an amazing bike. I bought it from one of the founders of number 22, Mike Smith. Here's the thing. I loved it, but I also had issues with it. Ride quality, again, as I mentioned with the Velo Orange, which is now running 35mm Panaracer tires, the limitation on the number 22, my number 22, was the calipers. I had Dura-Ace calipers on it, rim brakes. I didn't have disc brakes, which is fine. But it limited me on the diameter of tire I could put on it. And I think I could go only as high as 25mm. So as you may or may not know, that's not the plushest ride when you're running anywhere between 80 and 120 PSI. Yeah. So, you know, I think if you were to go down the path of a titanium bike, I'm sure the newer geometries have wider chain stays, wider seat stays, wider forks, allowing for a fatter tire, because that's all the trend these days. I'm sure that will certainly add to the comfort. But to be quite honest, the number 22 Great Divide that I had, I couldn't really discern too much of a difference. It was very stiff. It was more like a carbon fiber bike, a little unforgiving. It was beautiful, full spec Dura-Ace, but again, rim brake and capped at 25mm. Would I do titanium again? Hell yeah, I would do titanium again. But I would make sure that it could accommodate a much wider tire for the comfort. Versus steel, I'm sorry, I don't think titanium, doesn't matter what you put on it, is going to ever be as comfortable as steel. Titanium is going to be lighter, it's probably going to be more robust, but at the end of the day, I'd go steel every day. The one other question I received is, where have you been? What you been doing? So in between the last video and this video, Linda and I planned a little trip to Denmark. We have never been to Scandinavia before, and we've certainly never been to Denmark before. So we thought a week in Copenhagen would be a good idea. And certainly we thought it would be a good idea to drain our bank account and spend a week in Copenhagen. And that's what we did. I loved it. What an amazing city, Copenhagen. For the denizens of Copenhagen, for the denizens of Denmark, if I have any Danish viewers, you're very fortunate to have that city. Safe, clean, tons of shit to do, awesome food. So what did we partake in while we were in Denmark? Well, there was pizza, tacos, museums. There was an exhibit of Rodin, and here's a snapshot of Rodin's sculptures breaking into Single Ladies by Beyonce. There was amazing views. There was Noma. We didn't go and eat at Noma because our bank account is not that large. But we went and checked it out. And there was us. We had a great time. One of the amazing things that I found as a cyclist is the cycling infrastructure in that city is amazing. I don't want to get into too many details on this vlog, but on the next one, I like to do a bit of a comparison. Certainly when I travel, I like to do a bit of a comparison to see what the cycling infrastructure is like in my city versus the city that I'm visiting. And I was just blown away. I think Amsterdam also has an amazing cycling infrastructure, but Copenhagen, wow. So again, I don't want to get into too many details on this one, but I will say I was totally impressed and congratulations. It's certainly a poignant topic for people who live in Ontario because there's actually a movement away from the support of a cycling infrastructure in cities. And I will dig into that a little bit next week. So there you have it. That's what I've been up to, and hopefully that addresses a couple of your questions. There were a few more questions that I will get into in the next few weeks. Have a great week. We will regroup. Look after one another.